Hey everyone, this is Dylan, and today I'm going to be doing a video that I hope to make a more reoccurring video on my channel. I think I'm going to try to do like once a month type of thing, maybe once every 2 weeks. We'll kind of see how that turns out, but this summer I definitely want to start working on it, and that's to do more of a review type video. And I don't think I'm going to do as many like single video or single topic video reviews, but I kind of wanted to just do a bunch of things that I've seen all in one video so you guys can all get it all in one place. So I just kind of wanted to go through some of the things that I've seen and what I thought about them really quickly. So I actually just finished, I'll start with this one. So I just finished 13 Reasons Why Season 2, and I know that this is a very controversial show and a very hard show to watch, and I really enjoyed the first season. I thought that they did a great job, and it was very emotionally investing, but I was unsure after the first season how they were going to work on, or how they were going to make a season 2, because I just didn't really see a potential. There was like, they had things that they could have addressed, but I wasn't really sure how they would do that. But I thought that they did a really good job. They used the courtroom, because in season 2 they go to court, which isn't any kind of spoiler or anything. And every episode, it basically goes through the people from the first season who are on the tapes. That basically gives them their own episode again and allows them to kind of go through what actually happened, their side of the story in this courtroom setting. So I thought that that was really good, and there was some pretty harsh and hard things to watch during the season, and I really like how it focused on what happens after someone commits suicide and how many people are actually affected by it. I thought that there was a great representation of that, and I definitely would recommend watching it if you are in a good mental state and you are wanting to watch something like that. I mean, obviously, if you're not, then you need to seek help, and they definitely have all kinds of disclaimers on the season for the first and second season, that if you are feeling any certain ways, that you need to seek help, and that there's things that you can do besides take your own life. One of the best lines that I thought that they said in the show, which I don't know if it's not really a spoiler, but there was a line that was said in the show that no matter how many reasons you have to end your life, there are always more reasons why not to end it. So I thought that that was a very good summation of the entire show. And then I want to go on to this next one. And not all of these are, some of these I have the actual physical copy. These are just ones that I've seen on TV or streaming that I don't necessarily have a physical copy at this moment. So the next one I watched on Hulu, and they have all 3 seasons on there, and it is a show called Superstore. So I kind of got into this show because I knew that they had done an Olympic episode, and right after the Winter Olympics were over in February, I wanted to get started, or I wanted to kind of relive the Olympics again and like see whatever. So they had an Olympic episode back in 2016 when they had the Rio Olympics. So I was like, alright, I'll watch that. So it turns out that that episode was in the first episode of season 2 on Hulu. So I was like, well, I can't just watch that, so I have to watch the entire first season. So I got hooked. So basically the show goes through and it follows the lives of these employees at a superstore. So The Superstore is called Cloud 9. It is a comedy as well. So I would liken the Superstore to a Target, and there's even an episode where it's very similar. They literally have Target's like their biggest competition or whatever. So I really liked that. Another thing that I really enjoyed was that it's supposed to be set in St. Louis, Missouri, which is very close to me. I'm about an hour south of St. Louis, where I permanently live, and then at school I'm about 3 hours away. So there was a lot of like inside St. Louis jokes kind of things. Like if you would have to be from around here to understand like some of the references they're making, and like they like the Cardinals and all that stuff. So I thought that was kind of fun. There's a lot of really likable characters, and this was actually a show. So I watched it by myself, and I would literally start laughing, like giggling, because it was so funny. There were just parts that I would just lay in bed and I'd be like that it was just so funny. So I would definitely recommend it. It's so good. It got renewed for a 4th season, so it's not gonna get canceled, or it hasn't been canceled yet, so you've got a whole nother season to watch. So if you have Hulu, I would definitely recommend checking it out. So let's get into the actual movies that I have physical copies of. So the first one I want to talk about, which is the only one that I kind of actually took notes about, so this one might be the most in-depth, I don't know. But this is a movie from Kino Lorber, and this is called Rawhead Rex. So this is a movie, well, the screenplay is by Clive Barker. That was basically the reason that I bought it, was because Clive Barker was attached to this, and he was the one who had done Hellraiser. And this is directed by George Pavlo. Anyway, it was fully restored, and it was a brand new 4K restoration from the original camera negative. Alright, so I'll just read the back to you. So this says, he's pure evil, pure power, pure terror. Rawhead Rex is a demon, alive for a millennia, trapped in the depths of hell and awaiting for a release. He is held by an ancient seal, imprisoned for centuries in a barren field near the hamlet of Rathmore, Ireland. In time, this gruesome legacy has been forgotten, dismissed as an odd pre-Christian myth, until Tom Guerin decides to plow the field his ancestors knew better than to disturb. The seal is broken and an unspeakable evil is unleashed on a rampage of blood and lust. Howard Hallenbeck, an American historian on a working vacation with his family, discovers the stained glass windows of a local church, a series of illustrating the reign of terror of Rawhead Rex. One of the pieces of glass is depicting the defeat of the monster is missing. Rawhead Rex is on the loose, and he is insatiable as Howard desperately races against time for a way to stop the vicious monster. So, I was not a huge fan of this movie. One thing was had a lot of overacting. I just thought that it was just weird. Another thing that I thought that was super weird in this movie is there is a super bizarre golden shower scene, and it's like this priest which is kind of a spoiler, so if you don't want to hear this, don't listen. But there was this priest who kind of he was the one who brought Rawhead Rex, or he kind of like worshipped Rawhead Rex, or I don't know, something like that. There's like a scene where he's getting a golden shower from Rawhead Rex, so that's kind of weird. And then you can't tell in this picture, but when he has, his mouth doesn't move, but I thought the creature design was pretty good, and something that happened was I didn't notice it or realize it until somewhere most of the way through the movie, but he actually has 2 mouths inside of, so there's the outside mouth and then there's a mouth on the inside, so I thought that was pretty interesting. And then there was also some cool effects that happen at the very end of the movie. So now let's get into this one, which I have only watched one of these movies, but this is the Grease Collection Steelbook, and I ended up watching the Grease Live, so that was the most recent Grease, and I actually really liked it. I think that I watched a little bit of it when it came out on TV. For the most part, I hadn't seen the entire thing, so I watched it. It is a little long. I don't know how long it is to the original movie, but I thought that they did a very good job. It was one of the NBC or Fox. One of them did the full musical, and it was like an actual. Obviously, it was live since it was called Grease Live. But one of the things that I thought was absolutely amazing about this was, and I knew about it right when it happened, was that Vanessa Hudgens is in it, and she plays Rizzo. So basically, the day of the thing, Vanessa Hudgens' father passes away, and it was crazy that she actually came and did it after her father passed away. Like, it was crazy, and it was nice. They dedicated the entire thing to him, and just overall, I thought that it was a nice representation. I watched the bonus features of the Grease Live, and there was a lot of things about that, so I would definitely recommend watching Grease Live. This is the only format that you can get Grease Live on Blu-ray. So that was one of the reasons why I picked this one up. So this one comes with Grease, Grease 2, and Grease Live all on Blu-ray for the 40th anniversary edition. So next up I'm going to talk about this. This is the Boneyard. So like I said in my April 2018 DVD and Blu-ray update video, I first heard about this movie on the podcast Shockwaves from Rebecca McKendry. And at that time, it was only available on VHS. So when I saw this pop up, I was like, you know what? I definitely need to pick this up. And I was able to get it for about, I think it was like 17, a little over 17. But this is from Code Red. And it has a new HD restoration from the original negative. And then it says financed by Code Red DVD's credit card, which is kind of interesting. If that will focus. But this is a horror movie, and it's got Phyllis Diller in it, which they have her as like the first name on here, which probably because she is probably the biggest name in this movie. But basically what happens is there is a cop, and he is going to this woman who is a psychic. And they have worked together before on other child crimes, because he has this new child crime, and she was like, no, I am retired, I don't want to do this anymore, because it was adversely affecting her. So what happened was the cop basically convinces her to come back and start to help him on this case that he can't really figure out. So they have 3 dead children, and they can't figure out. They have some guy in custody, and he's basically saying some weird things. So they go to the morgue, and that's where a majority of this movie takes place, is in the morgue. So what it is it's like there's like this lobby area in the front, and that's where Phyllis Diller's character, she's like the receptionist or whatever at night. And then the actual people who run the morgue, so like the pathologists and all that stuff, are downstairs. The morgue is in like the basement. So basically what happens is these children aren't dead, and It's just really... So one, the children makeup, they're called ghouls. So that makeup is probably the creepiest makeup I've ever seen in film. Like, I don't know. It was literally crazy. I was like, holy, what the heck is going on? This is so creepy. And like, I even sent pictures to my friend and I was like, what is this movie? But I ended up really enjoying it. There were some things that I just didn't understand. And these are kind of spoilers, so if you don't want to hear it, don't listen. But I would like some people to kind of help me figure out what it is. But there's this woman who is brought in... This guy brings in this woman who they think had committed suicide by putting a hairdryer in the shower, or in the bathtub. And she gets they put her down and they start to go do a autopsy on her, and she wakes up. So literally it never really talked about what had happened with her or why she was there or anything like that. And it never really quite explained, as well as I had wanted it to, why the children came back to life. So I don't really know what that was about. But I did really enjoy Phyllis Diller's performance, and I didn't even realize it. I kept watching it and I was like, her voice sounds really familiar. And it turned out that she played the Queen on Bug's Life, so that's where I had known her from. So then let's talk about this next one, Killer Klowns from Outer Space. So I had never seen this movie before, but I had definitely heard a lot of people talk about it. This is Arrow's new release, and this is the brand new restoration from a 4K scan of the original camera negative and newly remastered stereo audio, and a bunch of bonus features, which I didn't really look at any of the bonus features, so I can't really talk about those. But I just really enjoyed that movie. I thought that it was really good. The clowns weren't creepy. They weren't like It level creepy, so I thought that that was really cool. That they weren't super unexpected or they weren't super like, you weren't like, oh my god, these are creepy clowns. I mean, they were kind of like gnarly looking, but you weren't like, oh my gosh, these are gonna kill me or whatever. It was just kind of like fun looking clowns that were just kind of gross looking. So I really enjoyed that, and I thought that it was interesting with the cotton candy cocoons and the guns that shot popcorn out of them. So I definitely really liked it, and the movie looked really good. It was I think it's from 1988. I thought that the quality of the image was really good, and the same goes for the Boneyard. That was in 1991, I think, and I thought that the quality of it was really pretty good. So then, next up, let's talk about The Void. So, The Void is I'm still kind of confused about what it's about. So, basically what happens is this police officer picks up this guy and off the side of the road and takes him to the local hospital, which is on a skeleton crew staff because part of the hospital had burnt down and they were getting ready to move the rest of the hospital and all the people in the hospital that worked in the hospital to a new hospital. So there's like 2 nurses, an intern, and the doctor, and a patient there, and then there's also a grandfather and a granddaughter when they get there. So it goes through this entire thing, and you later find out, which may or may not be a spoiler, so be prepared, that there is some sort of cult and they're trying to keep people inside the hospital so they can't leave, and I don't know, it's just a really kind of a confusing movie. I liked it. I definitely recommend it. It's one of those ones that you have to watch. And I thought the effects on it were really good because they were all practical effects. And I did watch one of the cool things about it is that it is a crowdsourced movie. I think that this was done on Indiegogo, so that was really cool. And they have a thing at the end of all the people thanking all the people who had donated money to it. So I thought that that was really cool, and if I would have known about it, I would have definitely donated some money because I definitely have a thing for cults. I think that they're really creepy and would definitely have liked to have seen that movie go, and I actually really liked the way that it turned out. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about The Wolf of Wall Street. So The Wolf of Wall Street, I watched it for a class, and one of the things, I was like, alright, I'll put it in at 11 or 10 and I'll watch it until midnight, which is usually about how long movies are. So I put it in and I hit the display on my TV and to see how long it is. It's 2 hours and 59 minutes, so literally 3 hours. I'm like, holy crap, I can't do that. So I watched it in 2 days, and let me just say, it's long. It kind of drags on, and I think there are lots of parts that are really cool and really nice and that I liked, but there are a lot of parts that I feel like could have been cut out and don't really belong. And it wasn't near as wild as I expected. Like, I had thought that the entire movie was supposed to be like this party, this giant party, and everyone was drunk or high or whatever. And that was kind of true, but that was only true for part of the movie, so I thought that overall it was alright. It wasn't, I don't know if I would watch it again or watch it again anytime soon, but I thought that it was pretty good. I did say that that was the last one, but I do have 2 more, and the one that I also watched was Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. So I don't have that, but I watched that on Amazon Prime because I might make a controversial statement right here, and if you are a fan of comic books or superheroes or anything, don't hate me. But I would say the Joker is probably one of the best superhero villains or supervillains that there ever is. So, sorry, I just said it, but I stand by that. I think the Joker is probably the most iconic of all of the villains of any superhero, whether it's DC or Marvel. I can't think of anyone else who would be more popular than the Joker. I love the Joker because he's like a regular person who just goes crazy. So I think that that is pretty scary in itself. And so what happens in this Batman Beyond, the whole premise of Batman Beyond is Batman has gotten too old and he has kind of passed on the torch to this young guy. And so you find out in this movie that Batman and Batwoman, or Batgirl, killed Joker and Harley Quinn. So it technically wasn't, he didn't intend to kill him. It kind of just happened. So at one point we find out that the Joker is back. And he's like, how can he be back? I killed him. And that was kind of when he had given up the title of Batman. So it's basically them trying to figure out who this new Joker is. And I actually really liked it. It was one of the animated DC movies, which DC does their animated movies very well. So I would definitely recommend checking that one out. And then the last one that I'm going to talk about is the Damned Thing. This is a episode of Masters of Horror, and this is from Tobe Hooper. And this is basically about this town and oil. There's like this oil monster. I'm not 100% sure the whole story behind it, but basically this oil starts to make people angry, so they like fight each other and attack one another. So it's just kind of this really weird thing that starts happening, and then you later you always see this black oil dripping down at certain parts, and then you later find out that this black oil is, spoiler alert, a giant oil monster. I don't know. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. It is about an hour long, and I don't know. If you're a fan of Tobe Hooper and you're a fan of Masters of Horror, I would recommend checking it out. But if you're not, then I would say you could probably just leave that one alone, because, I don't know, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense. But, I don't know. I am a firm believer in you need to watch things and make your own opinions about them, so don't necessarily listen to me. But I wasn't a huge fan of it, so I don't know. But that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think about what I think about these movies. If there's anything that you agree with, or anything that you disagree with, or anything that you think that I should add to a video like this in the future. But that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching, and have a great day.